Welcome back to the Tangent. Today we're going to do... Oh, wait a minute. We already did this. Do I have to repeat it? Maybe. We're going to do Marvel versus DC. But this time we're going to get into more of the modern Marvel, DC, the MCU, and the DC Universe.
Yeah, animated movies.
We're going to talk about a lot of the DC side of it, things. Like, not just the good movies that came out recently and the horrible movies that came out recently, but we're also going to talk about some of the animated movies that's come out. And the reason why I like to talk about them is because I think they're better than the live-action movies that have come out. But we're also going to look into, like, what the MCU did right and why they are so popular, in our opinion, not in the real everybody else's opinion. This is our opinion on why Marvel's done good with what they have, and where they're going, and where we think they're going to go. I mean, they have a whole nother phase that has yet to even been. I think they've had one movie. That one Spider-Man movie is the only Phase 4 movie that's come out.
Far From Home.
What's the next one supposed to come out?
Well, they're doing the
Black Widow, right?
The Black Widow, but I don't know.
That's supposed to be like a flashback, so it's not really a Phase 4 movie, is it?
I wouldn't say it would count as a Phase 4 movie.
Yeah, I don't even know what their first.
It's like an origin story for
their first
finally.
one is the Spider-Man movie, but I don't know what they're doing next.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what they're.
I know that they're doing a lot of series kind of things.
I know they're doing something else. I know they've already said they're doing another Guardians.
Yeah,
I know they're doing another.
I think
Captain Marvel.
I think the next Guardians comes out this summer.
They're taking. They took Deadpool and they're like bringing him to the MCU. Actually,
which would be okay. I'm okay with that, but they need to leave Deadpool as rated R.
No, they are. That's what
and not let it get washed out by Disney.
No, here's the thing. Disney already does have. This is outside of comic books, but Disney does have a lot of experience making R-rated movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because anyone who doesn't know, Miramax is owned by Disney. Miramax is the vehicle that Disney used to use to produce R-rated movies.
Well, I knew that. What I'm just saying is, I don't want to get Deadpool
to be
Disney washed out.
Yeah.
I don't want them washed out by Disney because Deadpool made it as big as they've made it because of the way they made it.
I bet
the
new movie will be
I think they're smart enough to realize that there's really only way that they can do it and make Deadpool work the way it should, and that's the way that they.
And the other reason why Deadpool is as big as it is because Ryan Reynolds is the perfect Deadpool.
Yeah,
I don't think we have a whole lot to worry about it because honestly, the MCU is run by a bunch of guys who know comics. It's not like like Disney trying to run Star Wars and running it with a bunch of people who don't understand Star Wars. The people who are running, the MCU, they understand comics.
It's still the MC. It's still Marvel Studios. So I mean, it's still being run by the same people who ran Marvel Studios before they were bought by Disney.
We've landed here with the first topic kind of already, and I think this kind of puts us into talking about kind of what MCU's doing right.
Right, and that's
what
fine.
They're doing wrong.
What MCU is doing right is when they make a movie, it feels like a story that you would get in a comic book.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they do a good job at, like, I guess, making it to where casual and long-time fans can be into it, enjoy it most of the time. Not necessarily every movie
even the
they put out
hardcore
is
fans,
stellar for the hardcore long-time fans.
Even the hardcore fans who disliked what they did with the Mandarin or certain aspects of certain comic books that were like huge for certain characters, and they leave them completely out of the MCU. It's okay because the MCU is not directly based out of the comic books.
The
it was
MCU
built to
had
be
a
its
weird
own universe.
The MCU had a weird advantage. People who liked Marvel comics, it didn't really matter because when the MCU starts, it starts with a bunch of B-tier characters that no one cared about. So people who were fans of Marvel Comics, unless they were like super mega fans, they didn't care about these characters.
Right.
Well, do you really consider Captain America B tier?
He was at the time, yes.
Was he?
Yeah. Anyone who was in the Avengers was a B or C tier character.
Okay.
So The Hulk was like a D tier character at the time.
Really.
Yeah, he was hard.
No
hard
one cared about the Hulk. No one cared about Hawkeye. No one cared about Captain America. No one cared about Iron Man. No one cared about any of these characters. That's the reason why that's all the characters they had left after they got out of their bankruptcy.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
they sold
because
off their big ones: Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four.
Yeah, they sold Deadpool and
Sold off Deadpool.
sold Blade, sold
Punisher wasn't
which is
even
a-
owned by MCU.
Well, if you-
but Lionsgate had that.
right.
those-
Sold
if you really
Punisher.
wanna-
They sold a lot of
Rider.
stuff to try and keep themselves afloat. So when they started to do movies, all they had
had-
left was all the B and C and D tier characters, and all they had to do was just write comic book movies that felt like comic book stories. And it
then-
didn't matter that they weren't in sync with the original stories of these
Right,
characters.
because
And
nobody
they've pretty
cared.
much done a great job at establishing
I mean-
any single character that they've made a solo movie out of. They've done a pretty fantastic job at making them better characters.
Outside of my personal opinion of the Incredible Hulk being garbage, I personally think even in the very beginning when they built Iron Man and they made Iron Man, they made Thor, they made these movies, they did a great job of
honestly,
making them come to life on the screen.
What they did was
No.
they didn't
threw a lot of
recreate-
budget. They threw a lot of budget at him to.
They didn't recreate these characters exactly how they are in the comics, and that's good because who they are in the comics is generally crap.
Right.
Well, and also
So they took Iron Man, made him less drunk, and made him more of a smart aleck, and that made him more lovable. And
But
suddenly he's a good character.
They kept some of
They
the
took-
good parts of what
Yeah.
Iron Man is,
But-
like his brilliance, his cynicism.
But
his
they
ability to-
edited out all the stuff that people didn't like, which is the
Yeah,
reason why they weren't
they
good
filtered
characters.
out
They
shitty
weren't
things.
popular characters to begin with. So Captain America, they took out the fact that he was literally just some perfect dude. They gave him some flaws. They gave him a little bit of they made him more human.
Right.
They definitely did.
They
Especially
humanized
with,
him a lot.
well,
Which is
especially with the
and that's
last
the
two
problem with-
Captain America movies.
That's
Well,
the problem
they
with the
humanized
DC
them in a big
universe
way.
is that none of the characters really feel human.
and that's a lot of the
They
reasons.
don't feel relatable. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one of the main reasons why when I advocate certain comics that I do, it's because those are the storylines where you can see a lot of the humanity in the characters, especially for DC. DC has a problem with their movies, especially like Superman movies. Superman movies make him feel so alien. Not
Yes.
just in the fact that he is an alien, but like so alien in the fact that he's just wildly outside of anyone who could ever exist.
Some of my favorite things when it comes to Superman is not the movies. It's the TV shows that made him human. Like made him, I shouldn't say made him human, but made him strive to want to be more human to
Yeah.
blend in.
Made it relatable
Lois and
to
Clark.
humans that
Lois
were
and
watching
Clark,
it.
Smallville. Like Harrison was talked about Smallville a few minutes ago before the podcast
They do
started.
a fantastic job in that show of
Like
of
it
making
showed,
you see
it
Clark
showed,
Kent
it
rather
shows
than Superman.
Superman's struggle, not just to continue to be Superman and be a hero, but it shows his struggle on what it's like to try to live on a world where he can't show his powers when he's not dressed up in his suit.
Well, I feel like the movies do just a piss poor job at portraying Clark Kent.
That's
Yeah,
probably
it's-
the best way to
it's
put it.
just a
Absolutely, yeah.
stereotype at that point.
Yeah, they just
Honestly, I don't think Man of Steel was probably the movie that came closest to showing Superman as a relatable human.
yes.
But
I
that's
would agree.
because like I said in our general more general comic book discussion, the best storyline for Superman is Superman Earth 1 because the entire comic is just Superman dealing with the fact that he's not a normal person trying to live a life where he can help the most people that he can,
Yeah.
and realizing that the majority of people in the world he just can't help because being super strong and being super fast and having all these abilities doesn't help someone get
It
over
doesn't-
heroin.
Yeah, it
or
doesn't
it
fix
doesn't help.
every
It
problem.
doesn't help someone out
So-
of a financial situation. It doesn't like he can't help regular, average, everyday stuff because
He's there
lifting
for
a
the
car doesn't help someone out of the fact that they were abused as a child.
Yeah.
Superman
Like-
Earth 1 is a
not
lot
an
of
everyday
Superman
problem.
before he becomes Superman and decides to wear the suit and become a superhero.
Yeah.
It's a lot of him walking around and doing things non-superhero-esque.
Right. And that's the better stories, really, especially out of DC side. And honestly, that's a lot of the stuff that made Marvel really good too. Was a lot of the early Marvel stuff that people can relate to was things like the fact that Spider-Man was a high school student and then a college student.
Yeah.
The fact that, you know, the mutants that are in the X-Men deal with people hating them without even knowing who they are. That was stuff that people could relate to. And people who don't get into, like, the thing is, they're easy to recognize because that's what you know the characters for.
Right.
Yeah.
The DC characters have a lot of that stuff too. It's just that's not what people immediately think of when they think of those characters.
Yeah, you
So
know,
as a result, when they make movies, that's not what they focus on, but that's what they should focus on.
like you don't realize that in the comics, they kind of go through what Bruce Wayne has to do. They kind of go through Bruce Wayne as a character, but not in the movies. A lot of the movies is just focused on Bruce Wayne becoming Batman, and then what he does as Batman, not as what he does as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite Batman storylines has a lot of the beginning conflicts will have things to do with like people trying to mess with like the Thomas and Martha Wayne foundations, the charities. Like that's how they try and get to Batman, or Tower of Babel, which was a Justice League comic. Ra's al Ghul steals the bodies of Thomas and Martha Wayne to get Batman out of the way while he tries to deal with the rest of the Justice League. Right? So dealing with, you know, things like, you know, your dead parents.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
and you gotta also think that him stealing those bodies could mean a whole lot of things because Ra's al Ghul has the Lazarus Pit. And
He honestly, Batman didn't care why he was stealing the bodies. He didn't understand it. He just wasn't thinking. Like he was just like, hell no, I'm getting these back.
Right.
And that really humanized the character to me because he went from just this hero who's prepared all the time and ready for anything to a guy who just, you know, is in this situation.
Not perfect.
Right. He's not a perfect person.
right. And again, that's what they don't portray in the movies. And
They made Superman just way too perfect in like in Justice League. First of all, that's probably their cardinal sin of
well,
that
they
movie.
tried
Honestly,
to give him the anger
Man-
when he first woke up in the Justice League.
Man of Steel takes, again, my favorite Superman story and puts way too much Jesus imagery in it.
Yeah.
So they try and take this guy who's trying to be a good person and they
Make him the
they make him
savior.
into a saint.
Yeah.
He's not a saint. Like there's some things that happen in Superman Earth 1 that he probably could do something about, but he doesn't know what to do, and he's not sure because he's never done anything.
Like everybody
So he just doesn't know what to do or how to do it or if he should.
doesn't know Superman. Everybody who doesn't know Superman for what I've seen Superman have to deal with. He is literally an alien trying to fit in on Earth and do as much good as he can.
Yeah.
But it's the struggles, like you were saying, it's the struggles of him trying to fit in on Earth and trying to figure out that he can't save everybody.
Right.
And I feel like the way they did it, in Man of Steel, especially with his dad,
Right. Like that was
a great way to illustrate the whole what he was trying to do, what his dad was kind of trying to teach him how to be like. You know, it's like you got to realize that you're different, but you don't have to be.
And okay, here's the thing. Man of Steel tried to do that with that stupid tornado scene. That was a bad way to do it. The Superman Earth 1 did it the exact same way that the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies did it. Guy has a heart attack.
Yeah.
Superman can't stop someone from having a heart attack.
Right.
Like, that's just not something he can do.
Well, another point is the way that they do it in Smallville was, for me, I mean, I was probably like 8 or 9 or something when they when his dad was killed off in the show. But I remember Superman has never been one of my favorite characters, nothing like that. But I followed Smallville, the show. My brother was a huge Superman fan, and he was into the show. But, like, I remember the way that they killed him off was, like, insanely well done. Because they make it to where his dad dies, and he goes back in time to try and save his dad, and then love interest dies instead, which is not Lois Lane, but love interest
It was
instead.
Lane, right? Lana?
Lana, yeah. Lana dies instead when he tries to fix the dad issue, and that gives him, like, a whole, like, fuck, like, no matter what I do, I'm Superman, but I'm still, like,
Yeah.
what's the fucking good of being Superman and being, if I can't save these, at least both, or, one of.
It shows the, granted he's not human, but it shows the human side of what Superman has to deal with. And that to me was one of the, besides his moral outlook on life, like wanting to be good, he could have easily been a supervillain and just taken over the planet. Now there are story arcs.
There are really good storylines in the comics. Some of the Elseworld stuff, like Superman Red Sun, where he doesn't land in Kansas, he lands in communist Russia,
right,
and gets raised by the USSR government.
The TV shows
to be the Ubermensch.
There's actually a rated R movie about Superman that came out like last year. I can't remember what it's called, but I haven't seen it and I really want to.
Well, in the TV shows, in the CW,
basically he's bad Superman.
Is it a live action movie?
Yeah, it's a live action movie.
That's not a Superman movie. It's a Superman similar movie. It's called Brightburn.
Yeah, Brightburn. That's it.
Brightburn is a interesting movie. It's an interesting take on if Superman was evil from being a child,
right,
and having a child with Superman's powers who also is evil. It was a very interesting movie.
Yeah,
they did a very good job in the CW TV shows. In their
Arrowverse is
the Arrowverse is what I guess most people call it, where they did the Earth X crossovers, where they did all 4. I think there's 5 or 6 now that they have.
Yeah, and the most recent crossover they actually
it was 4 shows.
They
at the
had
time.
Brandon Roth come back and play Superman on one of the.
Tom Welling come back too.
Tom Welling came back.
Well, they did the Earth X crossover, which I found very, very, very well done, and basically it shows that what it would be like if those superheroes from those shows were
in a different
bad.
Way. Yeah.
Shouldn't say bad, but they decided to use their powers to control.
Well, yeah, because they have like Supergirl. There's a bad Supergirl.
Yeah, there's a bad Supergirl. There's a bad Green Arrow,
and then I think there's like another.
There's a couple
character
other
that's
characters
gone in the actual timeline, but came back.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a bad Flash. I'm pretty sure. I think it wasn't Flash. It wasn't
there
Wally.
was Tommy from the first season of Arrow.
From the first
was
season of Arrow.
bad Black Arrow or Dark Archer or whatever.
And then
was.
they used what's his name that from the bad guy the Zune, not Zune.
This is a very listenable.
The
section
yellow
of this
the anti-Flash or whatever, the guy who.
Oh, Reverse Flash.
Reverse Flash.
Or Dr. Zoom. Or,
he was actually the Flash from the.
Actually,
world
that's kind of funny because in the comics, Dr. Zoom was
Reverse Flash.
Reverse Flash for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, but in the Flash TV show, they're 2 different people.
Well, because Flash doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Almost everyone has been Reverse Flash, and almost everybody has been Zoom, and almost every.
Yeah, because
Flash's speedster villains are basically interchangeable.
Yeah,
and they've interchanged them a lot.
Well, but okay, so back to like some of the DC movies from this DC universe. We're gonna discuss some of them. So, first off, I think they pushed the Justice League too quickly.
Definitely agree.
Instead of them building background stories for what the Justice League is, they wanted to push a mainstream movie out fast to keep up with what the Avengers were doing.
I will say the way they pushed it too fast. They could have legitimately just started off with a Justice League movie as though they were already formed and everyone already knows who they are, because you know what? Everyone does already know who they are.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree.
They could have legitimately just started a Justice League storyline They're already together, and now they're dealing with a situation. Not deal with any of the origin stories, backgrounds, none of that stuff. Just go.
And how they were put together.
Because
and
it's not
the
like
research behind
the
finding out who these
MCU
people
where
are.
you're dealing with B and C and D tier characters
Yeah,
that
you
no one
got,
knows.
You got the A list.
Yeah, you're dealing with the A-listers here. You don't have to go through all their backgrounds. You don't have to go through all their origins.
And Superman
Right, and
Wonder
the story
Woman
they
and all those
used
fucking
for the Justice League was, to me, absolutely horrid
It
because
wasn't
they
very
tried
well
to
known.
build Doomsday in the complete wrong way to build Doomsday.
Not only that, they tried
Well,
to
that
use.
wasn't even-
They tried
that
to
was
use.
Steppenwolf in Justice League was the bad guy.
Oh, so Doomsday was in.
And that was
Batman
Batman,
v Superman.
versus Superman.
So Batman v Superman, you had Doomsday, which he was wrong.
just a ridiculously
The
bad.
Justice League movie, they tried to go with the. It's almost the exact verbatim origin story for the reboot of Justice League that they
Okay.
did a few years ago.
Yeah, because it's very new.
Which was a very bad story, and everyone basically agreed that it was the worst Justice League story for a while, and everything that happened after that was better. So I don't know why they started with it.
But
It's
I mean,
not a good story.
the reboot, I want to call it a reboot for the lack of better words, but the reboot for Superman was decent, but done in a weird way. That's the one where he had to fight Zod again.
Yeah.
And then the Batman v Superman was a horrid movie, and I really tried to back DC because I do like some of the characters.
There are a
building.
lot of things wrong with Batman v Superman, not the least of which that it is based off of an overrated comic book.
Right.
Because I've generally only heard that Dark Knight Returns is a good comic from people who don't read comics.
Yeah.
Very few people who I know read a lot of comics like Dark Knight Returns because it's not a very good comic.
Yeah.
It's poorly drawn. The writing is not very good. It is probably one of the worst things that I can't remember his name right now. Alan Moore, is it?
I think so.
That he ever did. No, it's not. It's not Alan Moore. It's I can't remember his name right now. But regardless, it's probably one of the worst comics that he ever put together. And it's just not good. It's a really weird Elseworlds comic that is.
Now,
Regardless, I'm
we're
off
gonna move.
that.
We're gonna move past. We're gonna move past that and move past Justice League. Now, something I feel that DC has done really well as of late was the Wonder Woman movie
Yeah.
and the Aquaman movie.
I haven't seen Wonder Woman, but I really enjoyed Aquaman.
And I keep
Wonder
telling
Woman
Devin
was
to
really
watch
good.
Wonder Woman, but he won't.
That's not the case. All right, stop trying to throw me under the bus here.
Wonder Woman.
all right?
Wonder Woman
But-
was really good.
He won't make it a priority, is what it
It's-
is.
Wonder Woman was also really weird because they didn't base that off of any Wonder Woman comic that I can figure.
I don't think they built it off of a comic book. They wanted to build an origin story to put her off of Themyscira onto Earth without
Yeah.
destroying
That
a
makes
lot of what the background of what Wonder Woman is.
No,
But the
I think
movie itself-
the main problem was whoever wrote the Justice League movie decided that Wonder Woman was alive way earlier than she should have been, and they were trying to make a movie based off of that. So they ended up making a good movie.
Oh, the movie! I
It's
find
just
the
for
movie-
some reason it takes place during what, World War One,
Was it
Yeah.
one?
one or
Was it
two?
one?
It's like real early.
Like
Yeah, because
there's
if you really
there's
look
no point in that.
If you really look at Wonder Woman as a character, even in the comic books, I don't think she ever ages.
And
Like, ever.
I don't
She
know.
doesn't really?
Another part of I'm not gonna lie. The reason why I haven't seen Wonder Woman, it's not because I'm not interested currently. It's because whenever it was coming out, watching the trailer, I was just like, "There's nothing about this that really makes me want to
Right,
know
and
what's going on in the movie."
I just wanted to see where they were going. I mean, and the actress that plays Wonder Woman, I've
Okay,
always...
if seeing her in that Wonder Woman suit doesn't make you want to know more, I don't know what's wrong with you.
I don't find her very attractive, so
I really enjoyed her in the movies that I know her from.
Damn.
I really enjoyed her in the movies that I know her from, which is the Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah, see, I can't look at her without seeing just the super skinny chick from
Giselle.
Fast and Furious, Giselle from Fast and Furious movies.
But
I didn't
that's
watch
why
the
I'm
Fast
not
and
into
Furious
her.
movies, but I know she's Israeli.
Yeah,
and
She was-
I
she was-
find
She was brought up in Israel, so she was in, the Israeli Defense Force. So
okay.
she could
I
probably,
find
she could probably
her-
rip your junk off.
I find her
Okay.
I find her
Unless-
Is that supposed to turn me on?
Unless
Yes.
you talk to her real sweet like.
I find her
It might
remotely
turn me on in a
attractive,
very morbid way. Like, yeah.
and
I'll
I
bleed
find
out now, thanks.
I find that her build fits Wonder Woman almost to a T. in
There
the way
are
I
other
think
there
of
are other
Wonder Woman,
people that I think probably would have fit the build of Wonder Woman slightly better,
but
but
I
she
think she does
fits
a
it
good-
fine.
I think she does a good job of doing it the way it could be done. In the way
Okay,
instead of Barbie-esking Wonder Woman, big up top.
Right? They
small
could have
waist,
done all kinds of stupid stuff with Wonder Woman, but they went in a better direction. I
I
think.
think they went in a very good direction with Wonder Woman, and truthfully, if she wants to talk to me in that accent all day long, I'll listen. But
And Aquaman was one that surprised a lot of people. It didn't surprise me because I already knew Aquaman was kind of a badass.
well, and
Right,
my thing
yeah,
about
see,
my thing about Aquaman, and I'm gonna give props to somebody who, for a long time, got a lot of bad raps for what he did, and that's Jason Momoa. He is a great actor for what he does. Now, for most people, they know Jason Momoa from
like Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. I know Jason Momoa from before Game of Thrones. I know Jason Momoa from Stargate Atlantis.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you went to high school with him.
I don't know. But I know Jason Momoa from Stargate Atlantis. He was a character called Ronan. that
You
they-
guys were in Stargate Atlantis together?
Yeah, we were at Stargate Atlantis together. But like I know him as an actor
Right.
through a TV show that I really enjoyed, and not everybody got into Stargate or Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe. Not a lot of people
Yeah.
got into those. I was really into the Stargate because I love the movie Stargate, and when the TV show came out, and the fact that MacGyver is in the TV show kind of made it interesting to me. But the guy-
Did he use duct tape a lot?
no, but they made a funny comment. They made a couple
Always.
funny comment references to him being MacGyver, but he did a very a badass person from Atlantis that he was what they call a runner, and these people would chase him down, so he had to learn to survive.
So he's been from Atlantis twice now.
Yeah. Evidently.
Huh?
Well,
Jason
now he's
Momoa.
Aquaman.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I guess that's how you want to look at it. That's fine.
Maybe that's where they got the idea from. They're just, let's make this.
But and
motherfucker
the thing
Aquaman.
is in
he already is.
in Stargate, he wasn't nearly as big as he is now. Like when I say big, I mean
Yeah.
toned up and muscular, but he was always been tall, and he's always had this I'm stronger and bigger than most people.
He's got such a
But
good
when he
amount of
got that
charisma
role-
to him too.
When he very much so, and when he got that role as God, I always forget his name.
Khal Drago.
Khal
I haven't
Drago.
even seen the freaking show. You should be embarrassed.
I don't really care. Yes,
No-
I've
no-
read the books and seen the shows, but something you'll realize with me is names do not always stick.
Now
with
that
me.
now
Yeah,
that
he
Game of
doesn't
Thrones
even know my name.
now that Game of Thrones has ended, no
He
one
calls
cares
me
about
Devin.
it anymore.
It's not- he calls me Devin every week. That's not even my real name.
His
it's
na-
David or something like
Yeah,
that,
it's
isn't it?
His name is Gerard.
Yeah.
What is that one guy at work always call you? Like you have one or two guys that always call you
Davion.
Davion. And
Yeah. I don't get it.
There's a couple other
Deviant.
plumbers that just call him a completely wrong name, like Eric or something like
Devon.
that.
Oh, dude, I get Kevin and Dennis. Dennis? Why is Dennis so common? My name is Devin. They're not even close. There's three. I don't know.
Yeah, there's
I
a
had-
plumber I think calls him Kevin.
I had a guy at work
that's
that called me
understandable.
Paul for 3 months.
But anyway, when he did Khal Drago, it showed a little bit more of his acting chops. Even though he didn't have a whole lot of lines, it just showed what he could do. And then when they casted him as Aquaman, I was like, this could be interesting because he could definitely pull off the BA of what Aquaman is.
Honestly,
I
I was
was a
a little more worried than that about him specifically being Aquaman, because he reminds me of 90s Aquaman, and 90s Aquaman was a disaster. 90s Aquaman tried to be cool.
Yeah. I was scared of that.
And as a result was very uncool. After that, when they stopped caring about making him cool and they just decided to write Aquaman as Aquaman, he became a lot better.
Well, and the other thing is that if you really look
What's
at the comic
uncool
books,
about him, anyways? If we're a bunch of freaking haters are the ones that
He
just
had
talk
he
crap
had
on
a
him.
stupid beard and a stupid mullet and a stupid hook hand, and he was.
well, I mean, if you really look at the Aquaman from the comic books,
I'm just
he's
looking about
blonde.
what Aquaman
short blonde
is
hair.
and what he can do is
Looks like a dweeb.
ridiculous.
Yeah, the comic book Aquaman is just short blonde hair, wearing that orange shirt with the green pants, and he's a little weird. But like when they cast him as Aquaman, I'm like, okay.
When you actually got into a lot of the comic book stuff about Aquaman and what he could do, especially after Black Lantern, when Aquaman was dead for a sec, and then he was a zombie for a minute, and then he was alive again. Once that all happened, and he came back, and he was just like, so I don't want to worry anybody, but I can totally summon zombie sharks. Don't know why. It's a thing now.
So we'll move on. We'll move on a little bit. Kind of, we're getting off on our tangents again, but then again, that's what we do.
Zombie sharks.
So we've talked about a little bit of Wonder Woman. We talked about Aquaman and how good those movies were. So I think they're moving in the right direction as long as they can continue this format. Maybe
If they can continue to give us a reason to give a crap about the character.
Well,
Honestly,
and
I wish they would just reboot the whole thing. Forget they made a couple of the movies. Keep some of them in continuity. Just keep Wonder Woman around.
You want another reboot? I thought you said you didn't like those.
I don't know. I'm not talking just reboot. I'm talking just let's
Justice
forget
League and Batman
let's
versus
forget
Superman.
that Justice League, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad.
My thing is that what I've always said. I've always said this.
I mean,
and not everybody knows I've said this, but I used to say this all the time. But truthfully, to play Batman and to play Superman, they need to find actors that are good at what they do, but are not mainstream.
Honestly,
So with-
I'm kind of excited about the new Batman being Robert Pattinson.
As long as he doesn't glitter in the
very
sunlight, I'm
outside-
okay.
It's very outside of the box as a
I
choice,
think
and I'm
Robert
honestly a
Pattinson's a
little
pretty good
excited
actor.
about it.
Yeah, because when I first heard it, Robert Pattinson's one, he's a good actor.
He is
Yeah.
a good actor.
Two, just look at his face shape.
True.
He looks like
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna
you
give
put,
him
you
a
put,
shot.
You put some muscle on that guy, suddenly he's a very convincing Batman.
Have
Now-
you seen the leaks of the suit?
No,
I mean, people are freaking out about that. Like, it looks good.
like
I'm gonna give him a shot because the thing is with him is that I almost cannot see him outside of being Cedric Diggory.
I'm glad you said Cedric Diggory instead of the other one.
He actually
And by the
He
other
actually
one, I
loves
mean
it when
Water
people-
for Elephants.
He actually loves it when people talk to him about Cedric Diggory because
Because that means they're not talking about
Twilight.
Twilight.
Yeah.
Right.
Edward Cullen.
But
Sparkly
it's like
vampire.
the thing is I'm gonna give him a shot at that because there are some mainstream actors that have played Batman that I like. Like I actually like the Michael Keaton Batman.
And Michael Keaton was a weird choice at the time too.
Absolutely.
He
Off
was
the
a
wall,
comedian.
Weird, yeah. Having him as Batman, but what I mean more along those lines is, like this guy who plays Superman now. I liked him because I'd never heard of the guy before.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I've never heard of him. I'd never seen him in anything. And when I first saw him,
He was in very few things
and
before.
his
Man of
build, his look, to me, it was Superman. He is huge. He's got a lot of muscle.
And when he puts on like a suit and becomes Clark Kent, he hides it very well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he looks smaller.
He
Right.
looks less menacing
Right.
And-
Well,
Especially like he was in one of the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
I didn't even recognize him because he was wearing a suit the whole time until he took the suit jacket off for that random bathroom fight that
yeah,
him
you're
and
like, holy
it
crap,
was like
that's
him and
Superman.
Tom Cruise versus that Japanese ninja guy.
right.
And he takes the suit jacket off and suddenly he looks huge. That is a great person to have as your Superman.
and if you watch him in The Witcher, if you watch him in the show, the Netflix show The Witcher, you don't realize how big he is until he ends up pulling some of his armor off, and you're like, damn. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
He's a big dude.
He is a big dude, and I thought he was a great choice. I just think that the storylines that he was put into were kind of garbage. So I do like him as a choice, and when I said that, it's like I find it perfect because he has the right build, he has the right facial features, and the right haircut. With
Mhm.
you know, he was perfect. I just think that the stories that he was put into just made it garbage. So he's
so
fine
far,
being Superman.
what I'm hearing is we all kind of unanimously agree that a good majority of the cast of the Justice League is a good cast.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I was disappointed that they didn't just grab the guy from the Flash TV show to be Flash.
Yeah,
Because he's a much better Flash
He's a
than they
much
had in the
better
movie.
Flash.
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
Ezra
And you
Miller.
know what?
I
His
agree.
build and the way the way he plays.
He's
the
a very
Flash,
good cast.
He is a
Grant
very
Gustin
great cast.
is
And the thing is,
damn near
the
perfect cast
the
for
Flash suit from the Flash TV show is a much better, and like toned down, sort of just nuts and bolts, just only what is necessary suit, as opposed to that ridiculous
He doesn't
armored
look-
nonsense they
why
had for
does
the
he
Flash.
look like
They
a freaking
actually talked
RoboCop?
about that in that crossover because they met in the crossover they just did.
Yeah,
Did they really?
Yeah, like the movie one and him met and they like made fun of each other's suits. It was kind of funny.
yeah.
That armored suit is stupid.
Why does he look like a freaking RoboCop?
Right.
He was like, oh,
But
He looks like the world's worst Power Ranger.
Yeah.
But so where I'm
bad.
actually headed with this whole thing with DC is one of the things that they've always done very well that I think gets swept under the rug way too much is their animated side of.
The
Oh,
animated
the
side
animated.
of their movies is amazing.
It kicks ass.
Absolutely, one of my favorite animated movies is Flashpoint.
That was a really good one, yeah.
yeah.
Very well done. And the thing
they-
about that I liked
They
about
did,
the
when
animated,
they did under the hood,
oh yeah, Under
Yeah,
the Hood
that
was
was
good.
that was
And then
oh
and the Red Hood was good. The
Teen
one where
Titans movies are pretty good.
the Teen Titans movies are good. Like 'cause Damien's such a jerk in those.
Funny.
He's such a
But I
jerk
mean-
in general.
Yeah, he is. Honestly,
Some
that's,
of-
that's one of the things I miss from having Stephanie Brown as Batgirl in the comics. Because anytime the two of them would interact with each other, it was just comic gold. Like,
I mean, it all started with the Superman animated series and Batman the animated series,
Yeah,
and, then-
moved into the
Justice
and
League
moved
was
into the
amazing.
movies. And once they moved in, I mean,
Yeah.
Mask of the Phantasm,
Mask of the Phantasm's a great movie.
and then just
You
building
had
from
like
the
Batman Sub-Zero.
right,
You had Return of the Joker for Batman Beyond.
right
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that one was so good.
So dark.
after
So dark for a kid's movie.
Yeah.
as popular as those two animated series were, they
They-
just built on the popularity and made some of the greatest animated
That's
movies.
where
And
Static
truthfully-
Shock came in. And
Yeah, and
did
truthfully,
that
I
crossover
think-
with the Justice League
I
Unlimited.
think that DC, if done properly, should have either just turned some of their animated storylines into live action, or just hire production the animated movies
Honestly,
and release them in theaters.
That'd
Have you guys
One
seen
or
the
the
last
other.
the last episode of Justice League? It was
Neg-
like, it was the very last episode of Justice League Unlimited.
Negatory
I've
Ghost
probably
Rider.
seen it.
It's a
I don't
weird
remember what it
crossover. It's a several years later for Batman Beyond actually. So it's several years after Batman Beyond ends. Terry's a little bit older, and he's confronting what is it Amanda Lawler, the chick who runs the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And is all like, I know what you did, and things like that. Because apparently Terry is like half Batman son, sort of thing, from some stuff. But that's not really the point. The point is, like, if we want to talk about good writing, the way they write Batman, she has this little flashback story of Batman when she found out that, like, she realized that Batman was the kind of person that she wants to have around forever. The Royal Flush Gang was going ballistic, and they had this little psychic girl that was dying, and she was just lashing out at the fact that she was just dying of this random disease. And Batman just goes and, like, sits with her, like, on a swing and just holds her hand until she passes away. And that just resolves the situation. And since then, she's just like, I need a Batman forever. And I was like, that's a really, really deep way to write Batman.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's something I wish that DC would focus more towards instead of trying to make these live-action movies. Either take the storylines that they've been
they need to stop focusing on explosions and start focusing on hiring a good writer.
Character depth, for Christ's
Yeah.
sake.
They need good writers and less explosions.
They don't need to try to push something out to try to compete with Marvel.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's
make
the
something
biggest key.
good.
And that's actually a very
'Cause
deep thoughts from Harrison.
Yes.
you went to Marvel and DC for very different reasons. You can't recreate what Marvel's doing in DC. You don't have the right characters for that.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, so I just wish that they would either take some of the great storylines that DC has created, which we've talked about now. This is the second episode we will be talking about how deep some of the DC storylines are. Some of our favorite storylines are DC story arcs.
Yeah.
They just need to take those storylines and either make them live action or make them a damn good animated movie
Yeah.
and release them in theaters. Because I'm telling you right now,
a lot of the animated movies that they've made, if they'd released them in theaters, that would have made them some freaking money.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah, I mean,
and that's what I've been saying that
and
for
that's
years.
becoming, and even now, like today, it would make even bigger of an impact than it probably
Because
ever could have.
Look at Into the Spider-Verse.
even before.
Mhm.
Into the Spider-Verse was an animated Spider-Man movie,
That was a freaking bombshell, man. That
and it was
wrecked
kind of
box office.
It was kind of under the radar at first, and then boom, it was in theaters, and yeah, it wrecked the box office. If DC were to just put more money into the production of some good animated storylines,
Yeah, I mean,
and release them in theaters,
You even see
they
that.
would make plenty of
But
money.
if they
see
if
that
they
with
want
anime, because
Yeah.
in the last like 10 years, any new Dragon Ball Super movie that they've made has had a release in theaters worldwide, and
generally they're limited releases, but they make a lot of money.
they bank a crap ton of money. Their quality
I think
of
the main-
animation is
I think-
getting amped to the wall.
right.
I think
You
the
know-
main problem that they're probably going to have with that is the same problem that Dragon Ball had releasing their new movies in theaters, and it's finding distributors that are willing to
do it.
put money behind it.
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse got the benefit of the doubt from a lot of distributors and was able to make a full release because of how popular the MCU is.
And because
The problem with
Sony's
getting
the
some of these
devil.
animated movies from DC out is you're not gonna be able to find a distributor that's willing to do it.
yeah, but
So
once they
the better
realize how-
thing to do for a while at least is take some of the storylines that they're gonna write for the animated movies and make them into live action movies.
right, and that's the other thing is
Because
I'd
all
be
they
okay
need is
with that
writing.
too.
And it comes
I'd be
back
okay
to the
with
point
that
that,
too.
like, most fans that are going to see DC movies know a lot more about these characters than they did about the MCU characters.
Right.
Because again, we were talking about A tier, B tier.
A tier,
All
B tier.
these
You
Justice
can't find
League-
it.
all these Justice League characters that they're using are A tier. They are the top tier. They were the best sellers. Wonder Woman, Green Lantern,
Honestly, MCU,
Cyborg, Superman, Batman.
in my opinion, MCU only has one property that they've made movies about that is on the same tier as, like, Batman, Superman, superhero wise.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. You can't look through every single MCU movie, and none of them are A tier characters for Marvel.
well, yeah, that the MCU has done. Now the X-Men are on that same tier, but they weren't made by the
Yeah,
MCU,
not MCU.
not
So-
the Marvel Studios.
And now that a lot of those characters are becoming more A tier in Marvel, you are getting into a really weird realm because the Marvel comics have been on the decline for a while.
Yeah.
They are not well written. The movies, it's sort of the opposite problem. DC Comics and DC animated stuff written amazingly. Their live action stuff is written by some guy on the back of a cereal box.
Right.
The Marvel movies are top tier writing, and everything else is written by a monkey in a suit.
Yeah, their animated movies are pretty blah.
I've tried.
They're very blah.
The best Marvel animated movies are about on par with some of the middling DCU movies.
Like the live action.
The only animated Marvel thing I've ever liked is some of the Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse is the only real exception for their animated side.
And I wasn't even all that impressed with Into the Spider-Verse. I thought it was good, don't get me wrong. But it was just kind of you could tell it was definitely geared towards the kids.
Well, I thought I think it was Ultimate Spider-Man or something, the show.
Yeah.
That one was kind of good.
Yeah,
Ultimate Spider-Man was okay.
They did a couple Ultimate Avengers movies that weren't half bad.
The Ultimate Spider-Man TV show did a lot of stuff right, and it did some stuff weird. I don't. It wasn't that the one where Aunt May was a super athlete.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It's been a while. I remember liking one of the Spider-Man shows. It was pretty good.
And there's
one of the later ones. Now, see, I remember the old school Spider-Man, Spidey and Friends, and old school Spider-Man,
and his amazing friends.
Dude, there's a bunch of great memes from that show, though.
That show is a meme. That show was a meme before memes were a thing. I guess.
Right.
But
go back in time.
When it gets to shows, the last really, in my opinion, the last really amazing Marvel show was probably X-Men Evolution. But on the other hand, for DC animated shows, you can get all sorts
recent
Young Justice was probably the last super good one that got canceled for no reason.
And
that was still a thing.
The original Teen Titans, not the new Teen Titans.
The original Teen Titans,
was really good.
But and we can go into why Young Justice got canceled, because I know why it got canceled, and it's a dumb reason.
Let's hear it.
It's merchandising.
Okay.
So the show was winning awards and had top tier ratings, but it was most of the ratings were girls, and they had already built all the merchandising for boys in that same age range. So they ended up sinking a bunch of money into something that wasn't selling. Yeah. If they knew that it was going to be, it was going to hit the girl demographic as much as it does, they probably would have changed a lot of their merchandising, because all their stuff was in toys. And they could have changed it to shirts and things like that girls do buy. But they had already sunk all their money, so they kind of doomed their show by accident.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, they expected it to be geared toward the boys because it's a superhero thing.
Right.
What they don't understand anymore is that
it's not.
A lot of the animations that people watch, the people that are watching the animation stuff now are more of the female demographic,
and that was kind of during the changeover, which is kind of why it sort of snuck up on them.
Right.
Because I truthfully, outside of this room, most of the people that I know that watch anime or animated series stuff are mostly females.
Right. All the weebs are girls.
Yeah.
Or at least all the weebs anyone cares about. So
yeah.
Well, that's because nobody cares about men.
Again, outside of this room, I mean, it's the three of you guys I know are into animated stuff.
Well, half the people in this room are Asian. We can't be weebs, technically. And
you created them.
We created the weebs. We crafted them out of clay, like Wonder Woman.
Anyway, so we've discussed DC in length, but then again, we just discussed DC in length in the other episode, also. So let's do a little bit of Marvel.
I'm gonna say this. Marvel started off strong, and they got a lot of people into them and got a lot of overhype, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because they're good. They weren't as good as people said they were,
but
they're good.
There wasn't a whole lot.
And they kept a lot of people
go up against.
Right, and they kept a lot of people around.
They went unchallenged.
And a lot of their quality has started to go kind of down.
There was a little rough
I think
patch.
that
there are some rough patches, and every once in a while you get a really good movie that helps them again. Like, I think Guardians kind of kind of kept them afloat for a sec there.
Yeah, Guardians definitely kicked it into a different gear.
Captain Marvel is kind of the reason why I stopped watching them.
That's fair.
And
My
so
thing
I
is
haven't even seen the newest actual Avengers movie where they
And like,
Yeah.
I gotta say, I really enjoy.
I got like 10, like not even halfway through Captain Marvel, and I'm just like done with MCU
I
now.
really enjoy
You gotta
all of the
see Endgame,
Avengers,
man.
the actual 4 Avengers movies. But I think a lot of people are kidding themselves if they think that one is not the best one. First one.
The first Avengers movie is probably the best one, but how many times can you watch it?
I don't know. I think
I tried to rewatch the first Avengers movie like a year after it came out, and
It's kind of cringy a little bit.
the first 45 minutes are so slow that I fell asleep.
Well, see, and here's the thing.
does have a
That's-
lot
I
of
was just about to
slowness in
make
the
that
beginning.
comment too. Is that like a lot of what the newer movies are gearing towards because they think that that's what everybody wants is, again, we're going back to the explosions and giant fireworks.
Yeah, they don't
and
pace themselves in the.
There's
new
not a
movie.
lot
and
of-
the thing is,
there's
like,
not a lot of story buildup. Now, they took 23 movies, 22, 23 movies or something like that, and stretched out one giant story, which is great. I think that
And
was probably
all
one of the
that's-
most
all that's
innovative
fine,
things
But
they've
that
done.
makes each movie as just that movie.
Right.
There's
That's
always
where I
like a
was
little
getting at.
bit of like a okay, but was it good because it completes or it continues the full story, or is it good because
But
it's
when
just
we
good on
first
its
started
own?
watching Iron
Guardians-
Man and the first
Those
not-
were all
the
good on their
first
own,
Captain
good as they
America,
the first Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy. Actually, all the Captain America.
all
movies,
the
really.
Captain America.
All the
Yes.
Captain America, and there's not stupid huge explosions in most of those.
but they're
Third
very
one.
good story
Right.
driven. They're
There's-
very
there-
good
there-
story driven movies.
There's good action, and the action happens at the right time to push the story along, so the action means something, right?
Honestly-
it's back to lightsaber battles, right? Does your bag have something in it?
right.
In my opinion, the catalyst of the entire MCU is Captain America.
Captain
his
America.
movies.
Captain America was a big linchpin.
Yes.
It was
Iron Man
Captain
was-
America and Iron Man.
Yeah.
I
I feel like
Iron Man got a lot of the popularity because he came out first.
Yeah, he kicked it
And
off.
I have a feeling.
He
I have a
got-
feeling whichever one came out first. Like if Thor had come out first, the MCU probably wouldn't be a thing.
Well, and honestly, Hulk was supposed to be
Because
the
I
first
don't
Especially
like
that
the
movie.
first one. I don't like.
I don't like
first
the
Thor
second
very
one.
much.
I
really don't
like the first.
second one.
I like the first Thor, but it's not a movie you can start on really because
The only Thor
Yeah.
a
movie
lot of stuff that
Yeah,
Thor
it's-
does in that is
It's completely unrelated to
the
anything.
only
Right.
Thor movie I enjoyed was Ragnarok, and that's not because the story base behind it. I found the comedy built within the story was enough for me to keep me interested. But
because they wrote
I
it like
think
they were writing a
Avengers-
Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Avengers Thor is a lot better than Thor on his own.
Agreed.
Fat Thor.
The fat Thor.
Fat Thor.
In-game Thor is great the way that they did that.
Yeah.
But just
though he
Thor hanging out with Natalie Portman and throwing coffee mugs on the ground was amusing to me. But it was not a movie you can really
I think
start
the
with.
only reason
Yeah.
why I could even get through the first Thor was because Natalie Portman was
Is fine as hell.
in it. That's all I'm gonna
But
say.
if they had started with Captain America: The First Avenger, if that was the first movie that came out,
It would have been fine.
it would have been fine.
I
That
agree.
was a good enough movie,
I
and
feel like-
he would probably end up being the most popular character, not Tony Stark.
I feel like he's the most important.
Tony
character
Stark got a huge
to-
boost because he was first.
Yeah.
Well, that and I mean, if you really look at, I mean, a lot of people nowadays are really into tech and like trying to build and trying to become a more futuristic style.
They had to establish a genius character.
and having Iron Man be a full like genius style, I am building something better to make myself better. Iron Man became that.
I think they wanted to make him like their Batman.
well, they didn't have Reed Richards or any other geniuses yet, so they kind of had to.
Yeah, they didn't have any of the other Batman analog because
Yeah.
if you wanted to go into like Marvel's true Batman analog character, it's Moon Knight, and he is like an F tier character.
Yeah.
Like he is.
Yeah, well, and then they're releasing a Moon Knight show on
because
Disney
he
Plus.
started gaining popularity after the MCU. He got his own comic series again, and then it got canceled.
So
And then he got like 3 more after that.
So
All
here's
since
a
have been
question.
canceled.
Here's
But-
a question that because I don't follow as much as I probably should when it comes to this, but now that Marvel owns or Disney owns Fox,
Mhm.
does that mean
I
that
think they own a segment of Fox.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought
So
they
there's-
owned all of Fox?
No,
They
there's
do, I think.
I thought it was they owned
'Cause
a
I
segment
thought
of
that-
Fox, and there was like a weird dispute because they
I-
owned some of
No, because I
know
the
thought
stuff
they
that they
bought.
sold and not others.
I thought they bought out Fox's mother company, which means that they own all of Fox.
Yeah, I think they do.
That's the last I heard, honestly. But
So yeah, they should technically have access to,
their own rights again.
well, the rights.
Fantastic
Well,
Four,
a lot of-
X-Men.
Fantastic Four, they should have
And
access.
X-Men. X-Men.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: everyone
Deadpool.
complains about the Fantastic Four movies. Read a Fantastic Four comic and tell me how to make a better one. Because
That's a good. That
I
is
don't
a
know,
Great point.
But I have a feeling that if the MCU does build a Fantastic Four movie, it
It'll
may
probably
not
be
be
pretty
great, but it's going to be better than the ones that were built.
Well, another thing that I was never huge into the Fantastic Four by any means, honestly. But
I was
I
into
always
aspects.
appreciated how important all the characters were together, not just the Fantastic Four standing alone, but like when
the
the
Fantastic Four is a
Marvel
very important group in the actual
The
Marvel
whole
I
universe.
feel like
Yes.
it would be. I don't like them, but I think it's because of what I've been exposed to from the Fantastic Four. I feel like if like Marvel, like took it upon themselves like to make a Fantastic Four movie.
Don't
it
get me
would be
wrong.
good.
Marvel Studios could possibly take Fantastic Four and make them into something I'm willing to watch because they did it with Iron Man.
exactly.
Iron Man is garbage in the comics.
Well,
He-
I mean, and then the thing...
and up until very recently that was true, and now he is again. But
Well, my thing is that there are aspects of the Fantastic Four that I enjoyed, and it has nothing to do with the 4 characters that are the Fantastic Four. It actually has to do with the characters they interact with outside of Earth.
a lot,
Galactus, and
Galactus, Silver Surfer,
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor
a lot of
Strange.
their interactions, because they're so central in the comic book universe, a lot of their interactions with some of the other characters, like when Reed Richards and Sue sort of left the team for a while because Reed was all butthurt over the fact that everyone was blaming him for trying to destroy the universe several times.
He does that about every other comic. book,
Right,
though,
I mean,
doesn't
and
he?
honestly, if Marvel had bought Fantastic Four earlier, then I think the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Stone thing that happened in Avengers would have been a lot funnier, because in the comic books he's the entire reason why Thanos ends up getting a hold of all that stuff, because he's a dum.
Instead,
but-
they had to put all that heat on Peter Quill.
Right.
Poor Star-Lord.
Star-Lord's already kind of a chump in the comics. Why'd they have to do that to him?
Yeah. exactly.
But no, so he when the two of them left, and it was just Thing and Johnny Storm.
They did a lot of.
They
cool shit
brought
with
on
Fantastic
some
Four.
weird people, and you had this weird rotating cast of the Fantastic Four for a while, where you brought on like Wolverine
Spider-Man,
and Storm
Ghost
and Spider-Man
Rider.
and you brought on all these weird characters, and they would just like
Hulk.
rotate every couple of weeks, and it was just always 4 of them.
Right.
But the only 2 that were the Fantastic Four were Thing and Johnny Storm.
Right. Then the Future Foundation shit.
But I mean, my thing is that I kind of wonder where, and we all do, I'm sure.
Speaking
there's plenty
of-
of people that do
Whatever
theories.
happened to the Ghost Rider movies? Who owned that?
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
Lionsgate, I think.
Lionsgate owned that?
The Johnny,
Yeah.
the Nicolas Cage ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Lionsgate.
I
that owned
couldn't
it.
tell.
Do
you.
They
do
no
still?
longer do though. MCU has it back
Oh, okay. So they're finally gonna be able to do
because
something.
they
with it?
actually put
Oh,
Ghost
right,
Rider.
because they put Ghost Rider in the Agents of Shield show.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually been rumors for like years that they're gonna have Norman Reedus possibly play.
Oh, that'd be neat.
I'd be okay.
I'd be
with that.
down, right?
I'd be okay with that. I like
Throw
Norman
Daryl
Reedus.
on a bike again. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
give him some flaming.
So then we could we need into the Boondock Saints movie is what we need. But
But I mean, So I'd like to see where they go with a lot of this now that the MCU has a lot of the rights to some of
I'm
their
honestly
A-tier characters again.
excited yet concerned.
I'm in that same boat.
They pushed the Infinity War as like one of the first of this generation's introductions to the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
It was a large war. It was a large thing, and it was a big thing that happened. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering
Where
what they're
could
going
they
to
go?
do next, because again, we talked about story arcs in the DC universe. We haven't talked much about the Marvel universe when it comes to story arcs. I mean, you had like Fatal Attraction, you have the Infinity Wars, you have the other war with the
Age of Apocalypse.
the Age of Apocalypse. There's another
Secret
war.
Wars.
The Secret Wars. That's the one I'm.
Well, you got Secret Wars 1 and 2 and 3, and then you got Secret Invasion, which they kind of started doing Secret Invasion in Captain Marvel.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, honestly,
But they
Marvel
also
Marvel has fewer really amazing stories to call on than DC does,
So,
because of the problem that I talked about earlier, where they like to reboot.
Well,
And when you spend all your time rebooting, you don't spend as much time writing a story.
they've
Right.
been making up stuff in the MCU.
And that's a lot of what they have to do. Because
Well, honestly, you say they kind of established the Secret Invasion in Captain Marvel, but you said you didn't completely finish the movie. They kind of shoot that shit down like already.
really,
Well, yeah, with the continuation of the movie.
so they take one of their only really good
Good
overarching
leads of what they-
storylines,
what
and they
they
just
can-
kill it
yeah.
immediately.
They don't necessarily
I just-
like they make it to where you're kind of just sitting there like, so is this gonna be a thing or not? Like
well,
you kind of said yes and then you said no.
and then in the Guardians, they introduce you to a Celestial.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good way for them to kind of carry on an overarching.
I mean, because that could
thing,
introduce you
you
to
know.
Galactus and Silver Surfer, which are great characters in the
Adam
Marvel
Warlock.
universe.
And
Yeah, and they did hint to Adam Warlock without ever bringing him into the fold of what it was.
Yeah, the thing is as great as the whole Infinity War thing that happened in the MCU is like there's a part of like people that know a lot more about what happened in the comics that are just gonna be butthurt because it's not how the comics did it.
Right. Well, and the thing is like the stones are now back to where they belong according to the storyline of Infinity. Like,
Yeah,
but they're
back
destroyed.
in their normal places.
But in
and time.
essence, they're still destroyed.
I'm kind of worried that they might end up doing things too big too fast.
Yeah.
And my
Because
thing is that Adam Warlock's biggest thing in the Marvel universe is that he holds the soul gem in his forehead.
Yeah.
That's what Adam Warlock was not created, but like he ended up doing.
Thanos'
He ended up being
biggest freaking enemy.
Yeah, he ended up being a huge character because of his guardianship of the soul gem.
Right.
And now they created Adam Warlock and didn't even use him in the Infinity War. But
Yeah,
they never really introduced us
missing
to
a
I thought it
massive
was
part
really
of
weird
the
that they
cast.
used the Red Skull for that.
holding the
for-
soul gem.
Yeah,
The Soul Gem.
that was kind of random.
Yeah, but
I'm
you know,
glad-
I'm kind of glad they brought Red Skull back to do something, because he's been gone way too long.
Yeah, Red Skull was a huge.
I'm
part
glad
of
they
it.
did that whole Soul Stone the way that they did because I had a theory about how they were going to do it, and it seemed like it was an obvious thing that they were going to do, and then they didn't do it, and I'm like, good, because that was a little bit too obvious.
What was your theory?
My theory was Wakanda being involved with the Soul Stone and whatnot.
And them not knowing it was on Wakanda.
Them not knowing that it was Wakanda.
That it was Wakanda?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, the Soul Stone holds an entire world inside of it.
Okay.
So, there was a huge prevailing theory.
Yeah, I had a thought that the Soul Stone was gonna have something to do with Wakanda too.
Yeah.
But when they introduced the Soul Stone being on that one planet and being guardian by, it was like, okay, that's fine. It's something we never heard of or dealt with before. But now we have the Soul Stone, so now in play. So
Right.
let's just move on.
Do you guys think that Guardians 3 is going to be bad because Thor is going to be in it?
Thor, from what I understand, Thor.
As long as he continues acting like he's being written for a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
The thing
it's-
is, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill that. I'm gonna kill that whole theory real quick because what I've read and what I've seen so far is that Thor is not gonna remain with the Guardians for very long. So
Well, yeah.
he might only be in that movie for the first 30 or 40 minutes of the movie, and then he's gonna be gone. It'll just
Thor's
be the
gonna be
Guardians.
that
back.
like college student in their 20s that doesn't know what he wants to do with his life.
So
Dude, he
Thor.
plays Fortnite in Endgame.
I'm pretty sure that's Thor's entire character.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's hilarious, though, that he played Fortnite.
Yeah, he was in there.
I love when he
Thor's,
gets.
Thor,
I love when
Thor's
he
the
gets on
college,
that mic.
Thor's
and
the college student who's like in his
threats that little
fourth year
kid.
at college and hasn't picked his major yet.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
he's-
what I'm saying. That's
Well, and
Thor
then
in
and then
general.
and then they're talking about doing the female Thor.
Well, come on, they like killed off.
I
Like,
think
all
they
of his-
confirmed that they're gonna try
Oh,
and do that.
I
yeah.
just love how the MCU seems to be trying to do this whole like women's agenda
no.
being pushed.
Okay, I'm
But,
gonna go.
but
I'm
the
gonna say
fans
this.
are
Regardless,
so ridiculously butthurt because they're ignorant as about what has already been a thing and what hasn't. They're just like, why are they making all these female versions? No, they were already established. You're just stupid.
Yeah,
no.
Thor was.
I'm gonna go with your dumb. Here, give me a second. So,
I'm talking about She-Hulk. People are really butthurt about She-Hulk.
oh, She-Hulk's awesome. Here's the thing about female Thor. The reason why I'm kind of ticked that they're gonna go ahead and do that is because she's only been in the comic
Yeah.
books for like a year.
3 years, maybe.
Like when I say that they're running out of decent storylines, they're taking
Because
one of the storylines from Thor that no one liked, no one read,
When he got turned
and got
into a
got
female?
Thor canceled for a while.
They
Yeah,
might
'cause-
as well. They
And
might
they're
as well
gonna
just-
turn it into a movie.
They just might as well make Captain America Hail Hydra.
Right,
You know,
that went over real well too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Odin turned Thor into a female because of something that happened in the comic books, and that didn't go over very well.
Yeah.
Eh?
I don't think they can really.
Didn't they?
do that
Didn't he
in
once?
MCU.
Because I think he made a comment. Somebody made a comment. I don't remember. where I heard
Odin's turned Thor into a lot of random things. And I think he might have been female for a bit, but I don't think that's what they're talking about.
Right.
They can't do that.
We're talking about
because-
Jane Foster Thor, where
Yeah.
where people elect that Thor is a title, even though Thor is totally Thor's name.
Yes. Thor
Like-
is his name. Thor Odinson.
And it's like you're female Thor, and it's like Thor's a dude.
Well, yeah, like I could
Like-
say like something about Endgame, but I don't want to say it because you haven't seen it.
it. You don't care.
I
He
don't
doesn't
care.
care at
Oh,
this
well, I mean,
point.
technically,
I'm-
Captain America is Thor then.
Right. A lot of people have held that stupid hammer. Storm
Yeah.
held the hammer. She wasn't
That
Thor.
was already a comic book established thing. People
know
were
that.
waiting for that for
And
years.
then what's
It's
his
not
name
a
grabs?
surprise
I'm aware
What's
of
his
that.
name grabs the hammer and
Vision.
Vision grabs
Yeah,
the
in,
hammer.
friggin'
in Age of
a
Ultron.
lot of people have held that hammer. Beta Ray Bill has held that hammer. He wasn't Thor.
Thunderstrike held that hammer.
Thunderstrike held the hammer. He wasn't Thor.
Superman.
Superman held the hammer. He wasn't Thor. A lot of people have held that hammer and not been Thor. Jane Foster picks it up and suddenly she gets to steal his name.
And
Like,
no, it's because
It's like, why? Because you dated for
what
a
was
while?
it in Thor? In the first Thor movie, when he sends Mjolnir to Earth, he said,
When he sends
"Whosoever
Mjolnir to
shall-
Earth,
whosoever shall wield this hammer will wield the power of Thor." or
gains the
whatever.
power of Thor. Yeah.
Gains the power of Thor, but it's not a title. You just get that dude's power.
Right. Again, when Beta Ray Bill took over, he didn't call himself Thor. He just wielded the power of Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
And
had
when
the power of Mew
Thunderstrike-
Mew, and he...
When Thunderstrike took over, it was because, again, Thor pissed off Odin, which he tends to do quite a bit.
Or
And
Odin's
he-
little
Odin,
timber
Odin's
metal.
kind of a sensitive princess.
Yeah, I mean, like dang.
But he didn't take Thor's name, but he just wielded the power of Thor.
No,
and
he
Mjolnir.
had Thor's name for a while, but that's because he was crazy,
Yeah, he was a little out there.
and everyone assumed he actually was Thor, including himself.
But
once you figured
then-
out that he just had brain damage,
But then
it got better.
Then when their reigns were over and Thor got his hammer back, they were given their own hammers of similar properties.
Right.
So Beta Ray Bill has Stormbreaker,
Yeah.
Right.
which we all know in the movies is different.
They should have just brought Beta Ray Bill in. That would have been cool.
I would have been cool with that too, especially during Ragnarok.
You know, Captain Horseface the God. That's been neat.
Yeah, totes. Let's do
Because
it. Why
well,
not?
Ragnarok when Thor fights Hulk on Planet Hulk,
Mm.
in essence,
whatever.
it wasn't Thor that fought
Hulk.
On that. It was
Beta
Beta Ray
Ray
Bill,
Yeah.
and that battle was just as epic in the comics when Beta Ray Bill did it as it was with Thor doing it in Ragnarok. So I mean,
arguably more epic, maybe.
maybe
Beta Ray Bill does not know how to hold back.
No.
He's just like, look, I know we were friends, but I'm gonna have to kill you. I'm gonna do it real hard.
He had Stormbreaker,
And he did have
Thor's
Stormbreaker.
got like a stick and a sword, or whatever.
So I mean, the rumors of where Marvel is going is good for me. I mean, I'm okay with that. I will still watch the movies when they come out. I was very hesitant about this Black Widow movie until I saw some of the newer trailers.
Yeah, it looks right.
It looks okay. I will probably end up seeing it in theaters, but not because.
If I'm being honest, I felt the second time I watched Endgame in theaters, I felt an overwhelming sense of burnt outedness.
I've been feeling that for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like,
I'm kinda glad that
There are very few Marvel movies I get excited for.
I'm kind of glad they're slowing down a little bit. With after Far From Home came out, it's been a while since a Marvel movie's come out.
Yeah.
I think
The new
didn't
Black
feel
Widow
like
is
I
a
skipped
prequel.
What?
I think I didn't feel that way because I skipped a few.
Yeah, see, no.
I didn't skip anything
I did
Oh.
not.
until
didn't either.
Endgame. Like I got kind of excited for Far From Home. I watched that. And the last thing I was actually excited for was probably Guardians 2.
See, I didn't see Guardians 2 or Black Panther or...
I watched Black Panther.
I saw it after the fact. Like, after that.
It was a very it was movie. It was a movie.
Well,
It
I
was
didn't
good
wanna-
for what it was.
I didn't want to see
I found
Black
it
Panther
interesting.
because a bunch
I
of people
did.
were just watching it because it was black people.
Yeah.
No,
I
here's
didn't wanna
here's the
watch it
thing.
'cause of that.
I think that's the reason why I consider it just a movie, because it did a lot of we're black people and not a lot of the really cool shit that Black Panther's actually done.
Yeah.
Right.
Which there's a lot of. They could have gone with any of it.
But hey, they'll make another one.
They are. It's already slated. It's part.
And
of
you
the
know what?
phase
I might watch it because they might actually get into some of the stuff he actually did.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, one thing
So-
I am excited for is whatever the hell they do with Doctor Strange, I'm probably going to be down to
Doctor
watch.
Strange was good.
There's a couple
Because I
movies
really
that came
enjoyed
out
it,
of.
and they're doing like multiverse stuff.
Right.
with
There's a
his
couple
new
movies
stuff.
that came out of
They're
that
going
whole
towards that.
20-something movies that they had that were very surprisingly good. Doctor Strange was one of them. Everyone's like, who's Doctor Strange? I knew who Doctor Strange
Yeah.
was, and I knew what he could do. And like, but going in, I'm like, how are they going to do this, and how are they going to wrap this into the MCU? After watching it, I was thoroughly surprised and thoroughly enjoyed the movie. The
Yeah.
other one is Ant-Man.
Oh yeah.
Most
Ant-Man.
people were like, "Oh my God, they're putting him as Ant-Man. What is his Rudd or whatever?"
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Paul
yeah.
Rudd. Oh, they're putting Paul
The
Rudd as
second one-
Ant-Man, and I'm like,
The
No,
second
when
one
you have a character like
I-
Ant-Man who is domestic violence, the character, you need someone like Paul Rudd to make that character likable.
yeah,
Agreed.
Like Paul Rudd made his entire career on being that guy that everyone kind of likes but no one remembers the name of, and you needed someone like that to be Ant-Man.
Now, you were saying something about the second one.
Second one's meh, but the first one was really good.
First one was great. Second one, I enjoyed
The
some of the
Second one
comedy.
was like copy and paste plus Avengers plot.
Right.
Yeah.
I like. There was a lot of humor in there, so it kept me interested. But yeah, the second one was definitely a copy and paste.
The
of
second
some
one
of the
actually
stuff.
kind of felt like it was more like a TV show where they just squashed like 6 episodes into a movie.
Yeah.
I guess.
But
Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff we didn't discuss. There's a lot of stuff we did discuss. We did get on our tangents about different universes and
Has
stuff.
anyone heard, like, because Robert Pattinson's going to be Batman now,
Yeah.
and Batman in the DCU was supposed to be older Batman. So now that Robert Pattinson is not an
Yes,
old
I
guy.
have no idea.
I think
Do we have an idea
I
of what's
think
going on with
they're-
that timeline?
I have no idea, but I think they're rebooting. I shouldn't say reboot because that's a faux pas word in this room, but I think they're just gonna redo Batman and run him as a standalone movie for right now, and then see if they can build into the continuity of
Because I know,
where they're
like
going.
Joker was good. That's not DCU.
No,
It
not
was,
at all.
It was outside of
Yeah.
DCU, but
Yeah.
it was a good movie, and it honestly, in terms of timeline, it makes almost no sense because
Yeah.
Because
there's no real way
not
you can
in
have
DCU.
that Joker
Well-
exist in a world with a Batman
So
and have them be close enough in age that it makes sense.
Yeah, because the way they wrote it was
Because the Joker in that movie is about the age that he should be when Batman is fighting him,
yeah.
but Batman's a little
Well,
kid.
they made that movie with the intent of it never to connect to anything. I feel,
Would-
yeah,
And then
I
I have
think
which
heard
is what makes it good.
I have heard some rumors that they're going to do other Joker movies that are going to be like alternative to that Joker movie. So it's going to be a bunch of random origin stories, which I think could be fun because it's sort of like just a series of movies about the Joker thinking about what was my origin story again, and just coming up with a bunch of random crap.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
Yeah. That's kind of what it seems like.
It could be.
that
cool.
could be
They
interesting.
try to make like a.
They could just have a
series,
different
but-
freaking Joker. Like get
Alright.
William Dafoe in there playing.
Willem Dafoe is the
But-
Joker.
So all right, again, tangents and top of tangents on top of tangents. That's what this episode seems to have been, but it's cool because that's what we are.
I feel
That was
we
kind
hit-
of
I
the
feel
title
like
of this
we hit-
episode.
I feel like we hit the good points. that
Right, we
needed
did,
to very
and
well
and
on
we
this
did go
episode.
through, but I have a feeling that I don't know. I just have this weird feeling that we hit too much DC and not enough Marvel, but
I
it's
disagree.
okay because
We
we are
talked quite a
DC
bit on
fans and I like DC and I just wish
DC
that the
doesn't get
movies-
enough love, especially from the people making DC stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So,
So
as
with
far as
that,
I'm concerned, it's justified for us to talk however many minutes.
with that, I don't really have any ideas on where we can go with recommendations for this. If you haven't seen any
I
of the
recommend you watch the MCU entirely.
I recommend you sit down and watch all 23 movies in one sitting and see if you can get through it.
I mean, I can try and think of stuff that's a bit off the wall.
but my truthful thing is,
I
is
recommend
that
Young Justice.
I recommend.
That's a good recommendation.
Bam.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna recommend an animated movie from DC, and I mentioned it earlier.
That's probably going to be all our recommendations.
But the animated movie from DC is Flashpoint.
Okay, cool.
That's a good
Yep,
recommendation.
that's a great recommendation too.
If I was going to recommend something, it'd probably be one of the animateds, but honestly, I can't figure it. You know what? Under the Red Hood. Under the Red Hood is a good
is
one.
a really good one too.
Harrison?
Kathy?
I think that they should add this person to the DC cinematic universe. I'm thinking they need to add Goku.
Okay.
Dragon Ball
totes.
Evolution.
I'm
I-
down.
You know?
yeah,
what's-
forget
what's
Batman
weird-
versus Superman. Let's
You know-
get
you know-
Goku
you know what's-
versus
you know what's funny?
Superman.
I
Cinematic.
actually heard this weird rumor that was going around where like an executive at DC was trying to convince everybody that they should buy the rights to Dragon Ball. It didn't last very long, but it was a fun rumor.
I don't think they can.
They could.
Why couldn't
I
they?
feel like Dragon Ball might have more money than them.
They don't.
They don't.
Because it's just
So-
the Dragon Ball is just basically Akira Toriyama in a closet.
So if we
Like,
didn't
it's-
catch,
Dragon
if we didn't
Ball
catch
makes a lot of
Harrison's
money.
recommendation,
Well, that's why
it's-
they have so much money because it's just Akira Toriyama in a closet.
If we didn't
Yeah,
catch
you don't
Harrison's
have to pay so
recommendation,
many
it's to
people.
put Dragon Ball Evolution in the DC universe. So, with that bombshell,
that Goku.
with that bombshell, I'm gonna sign off and say, talk at you guys later.
Yep. Later.
Get excited for Justice League Endgame.